Hi, I'm Tanji Harper. I'm a dancer, choreographer, teaching artist in Chicago, artistic director of the Happiness Club, and artistic manager of Storycatchers Theater.
Hey, I'm Rick Wilson. I'm a tour musician, writer, activist, dancer. I don't know. Learner.
Lyricist.
Learner.
Yeah, right. All things.
I think I don't know. I think it'd be interesting for them to ask the young people, why do they like it?
Yeah.
Because then I feel like you just learn so much more. If you just learn more about the young people that you're teaching, why they like it, you understand it. I understand why people like Lil Durk. I understand why people like G Herbo. Like, you know what I mean? I played all the Rolling Louds, you know what I mean? Like, I understand and I see it. I'm from Chicago, you know what I mean?
They're speaking directly to them.
They're speaking directly to them. They're speaking directly to them, or like they're speaking some sort of access about like to them somehow. You know what I mean? That's the reason why people like certain things. You know what I mean? They feel spoken to. They feel seen. They feel heard.
They feel like their stories are being told, which is important. But people like outside of it.
People outside of it, I don't really. People outside of it, I think that I don't know. It's kind of like a fishbowl effect. Kind of like going to the aquarium and like looking at the fish from the other side. And it's like fascinating to see the fish sometimes, or a lot of times.
Or like understand that it's a lot bigger than just rap music. Like hip hop is a bigger. It's a culture. There's more to it than that. That's one of the things that I like to explain to people. Is like if you're only looking at the rap portion of this, then you're not giving hip hop its due credit. Like there's multiple art forms that belong under that umbrella. And so if rap is the music of hip hop, then you need to consider the fact that that music has a very vast amount of information just in the music. The same way as if I'm gonna look at graffiti art, there's a million different ways I can do graffiti art. Wild style, like I can do bubble letters. There's all these different ways that I can get some graph off. Am I using a marker? Am I using spray paint? There's a medium, it's art. Same with the DJ. Now, am I spinning records like old school? Am I using the new techie stuff when it's all digital? You know, am I blending? Do I know what that means? Like, is the DJ just the DJ or the producer? Is it both? Like, there are facets to hip hop. And so if you just gonna rap me and then judge the whole thing off rap.
Put it in one.
So putting it in context as an entire culture of art, and urban artistic expression at that. So it's okay if you don't fully understand it because it doesn't come from you.
Yeah.
It literally comes from the experiences that we have, that we go through, the lens of the world that we're looking through, like how we see this, how we're experiencing the world. So you almost shouldn't understand everything. Yeah. If you white, why would you understand where G Herbo was coming from? Or Lil Durk. If you ain't never been on 63rd and King Drive, just even to drive by and look from left to right. Why would you understand what they're talking about? It's not for you. All of it is relevant. And them cats that's young right now that think y'all ain't shit no more are gonna grow up and look back and be like, this ain't shit. They're gonna turn into us anyway. I can't wait to see an old chief keep sitting back somewhere talking about how the hell hip hop sucks now. We had our shit back in the day. Like everybody thought N.W.A was gonna just tank all of hip hop. But it just turned out that there's a room for everybody. Gangster rap is relative. You know, that didn't tank it. It was just a way to tell the story from where they were coming from. Down south, when Master P and all them came out, they said they was gonna tank everything. No.
But they was mad about that.
Okay.
I heard about that. I heard they was
all
mad
of the Trick Daddies and everybody that came out of the south, they were mad about that. But it's like, that's the beauty of it again, is the diversity of the culture and the inclusivity of it all. Nothing wrong with them coming from the south. Nothing wrong with New York. Nothing wrong with LA. It's the shit that they festered that creates the problem within hip hop when they don't allow us to love on each other and be inclusive, and they start exploiting the beefs. Turns into some other shit, you know. So all of it's a conversation starter. That's what I was gonna say. It's like hip hop has a really good way of showing you the ugly parts that you don't necessarily want to look at. So the things that they try to judge about an N.W.A. or a Lil Durk, those are the things about America that white folks don't necessarily want to own or take any stock in. Like, you just want to accuse that of being just black behavior. You don't want to really look at how the systems you created help create the marginalized areas where this music is like super popular and why it is that way. So it's a construct that you can just like literally unpack. And that's because hip hop will show you your own face of like, this is what's really going on over here. This is what's really going over here. This is how we really feel about this over here. And it's impossible to ignore because A, it's loud and a lot of bass, and people are matter-of-factly stating their messages.
And it couldn't be ignored no more.
Right.
Like, I'm just looking at the history, like hip hop, like black voices could not be ignored no more. You know, people used to be like, you know, they'd be like, oh, MLK, you know, when he was alive, they said, that's just that black stuff. We're not finna pay attention to that, you know, Malcolm X, you know, all these organizing, these leaders, you know, the whole movement, it was just, but hip hop, it became so massive. You know what I mean? These people telling, these like young black folks telling their truth on mics, and it's bleeding into everywhere in America, damn near, and then the world. I think it kind of woke people up to like being like, damn, okay, what's happening like 10 miles away from me? 10 miles away from my suburb. I mean, well, everything about hip hop is like rebellious.
Yep.
There's no way to disconnect that from like organizing activism. Everything about it is rebellious. Even
rapping itself was a protest.
Yeah.
In it of itself was a
Cyphers
protest.
itself was like ciphers and everything. You know what I mean? I even think the storytelling is rebellious. You know what I mean? I even think like, you know, like Lil Durk and like Herbo and these folks telling their stories. It might be mixed and screwed. It's like glorifying, but it is also like rebellious. It's not being like looked at the way it should be looked at. I feel like by white folks.
Like one of the most unfortunate things is like even the kids that are listening to G Herbo don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
That he's not glorifying it. He's talking about it as a factual statement of this is what it is. And so for them it's like, G Herbo talking that shit. You know, they're not looking at it like, yeah, nigga, he trying to tell you what the fuck not to do. So you know what I mean? Like, to an extent, you know, but.
And there's also this really complicated thing with white kids listening to G Herbo and like Summer Smash happened this weekend.
But it's also kind of like, but then maybe they just like, it's like that, and they probably just, they like the music and they think it's dope. You know what I mean? It's popping like, you know, like N.W.A. That shit was cranked up, going crazy. You know what I mean?
It was
like
the first time people heard cursing on a song.
Yeah, people
like
don't
that.
talk about it. It was like loads of white people at their concerts. You know what I mean? But sometimes when we think about N.W.A., we be thinking that it just was like all the hood was showing up. The hood wasn't showing up. The N.W.A. was a problem because it wasn't just the hood showing up at their concerts.
It was everybody. That's why government got involved. You know
what I mean?
When Ice-T said "fuck the police," they got scared.
That's why I thought that was a very important
minute.
film to be made and be shown, because I don't think like people talk about that. I'm excited for them to talk about Public Enemies too, because Public Enemy, they were like, you know, they were on the charts. They had massive fan bases. You know what I mean? They were huge. And like, I feel like people have kind of forgotten that too. You know what I mean? A little bit of that. You know what I mean?
If he wasn't
and then
alive
Public
in the 90s.
Enemy and N.W.A. damn near were almost talking about the same shit sometimes too.
Just a little different way.
Just a little different way. Just a little bit more like a little bit more vulgar on one end and the other end. Chuck D's very like, you know,
militant as hell.
Like militant, like, you know, like Rita, like, you know, comes from like, you know, like it's surrounding himself around organizers and activists.
Yeah.
And these people, but they experience the same things just from different ends. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think activism. I think there's no way to teach hip hop without talking about like activism and like organizing. But I think also, I think it should be interesting. It should be, I don't know, I feel like it should be talked about why it's so regional, because like folks are so marginalized.
Yes.
I mean, so folks are so marginalized that you'd be surprised. So I still got people in my life that never been on a plane before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, so like all they know is what they see, you know what I mean? And what they see is what they're gonna like take and recreate, you know what I mean? Because every idea comes from something else. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's a very important part, and that explains a lot about why like they was able to exploit and manipulate folks into like this like beef, and kind of like have like, you know, these folks that are like making a bunch of people rich. Killing each other and hurting each other. It was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Sorry, now we get on a whole different conversation. But I was like, so.
But I do agree with that marginalized effort, because then you'll understand like why there are certain kids that only listen to Lil Durk, only listen to G Herbo, only listen to that, and will trash other styles of music because they just don't even listen to that. Yeah, like being disrespecting your dead homies is a killable offense. Somebody saying something disrespectful about somebody that died. People that died 12 years ago that you didn't even know. But they might have been from your area. And somebody said something about a song and now you ready to go shoot up they set. Like that marginalization of music and that part is like, that's the part that's like scary.
Yeah.
And how powerful that can be.
Trust me.
I do think it's important for your educators to not be afraid to have these conversations though, because if you're teaching hip hop, if you're teaching it right, it should create a space for conversations about things like activism, racism, systemic oppression, like the things that naturally affect the people who are creating the art of where it comes from. It should be a natural thing to have those conversations because that's what it is. So you can't teach this and then be afraid to go into that, whatever it leads
It's very
you to.
important to, like, especially when you're talking about hip hop, to like talk about these things. Because then it helps kind of knock down these walls that they didn't build around us.
That's part of it.
Or these mirrors.
Okay, because I keep saying
These mirrors that they didn't build around us. You know
hip hop will hold up a mirror to your face and show you this country, the different facets of this country and how different people in this country live. Everybody is not growing up in America the same at all.
Hell no.
We do not all have the same opportunities. We are not all treated the same. We are not all living in the same thing, like at all. It is very different. So, and hip hop will give you a glimpse into what that means. Like, what is that? What is it like if you only live in areas where there's gangs?
I would argue that hip hop was the first art form that kind of did that shit.
Yeah.
I feel like, because jazz, it was just wasn't too much like lyrics and vocals. Like there were lyrics and vocals, but a lot of the jazz, the lyrics and stuff, like it was like white composers, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Or people, they were making beautiful songs like What a Wonderful World and shit like that, but like, hip hop was like, it was narrative. A lot of it was very, very narrative. And like, people did not know that. It's like, wow, that's going on in New York? That's what's going on in Brooklyn. I was wondering what's going on over there. We
the
never
gangs
go
in Chicago
there.
versus the gangs in LA.
Yeah, type stuff.
Hip hop proved this country wrong. They always called it a fad. They was like, oh, that ain't gonna be around for long. That ain't gonna, in 10 years, I ain't even gonna be rapping no more. And I'm like, in 10 years, that's all that's on the radio. Like, it's kids that grew up with nothing but rap. They don't know a world without hearing rap music.